Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Season of Self-Love, where we reclaim our stories and we nurture our growth and we celebrate the beauty of just becoming. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and today is Wisdom Wednesday. And this year we are on a powerful journey I like to call the year of the rebirth. This month, we're focusing on the most transformative tools in your self-love toolbox, and that's emotional resilience. And today, our conversation is one that I believe that you will resonate with deeply. Our guest is the powerful and inspiring Aneta Waclaw. Aneta is a writer, a motivational speaker, and a host of the podcast Nourish Inside Out. After surviving a toxic marriage at a young age, she's dedicated her life to helping others rebuild after heartbreak and discover their worth and heal through emotional resilience. So before we jump in, I want you all to remember to download the Year of the Rebirth Workbook, Book 2, for August, which includes our journal prompts and affirmations and that align perfectly with this month's series. But before we bring Aneta to the stage, let's take a quick break, all right? It's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here on this Season of Self-Love podcast. We'll be right back.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good, so I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
All right, my beautiful people, well, welcome back. We have Miss Aneta with us. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me today, Nyomi.
Yes, I love it that we have two Chi-Town here. Yes, it's good. I've yet to, you my first Chi-Town guest.
I love that. I love how you say Chi-Town instead of Chicago. That's how you know you're truly from there.
Yes. So what I want to do is, before we truly get into your topic today, I want to take a nice quick grounded meditation and guide it and just come back, and then we are full flowing once we come back. All right.
Sure.
All right. So listeners, you know what we do. If you can just close your eyes at this moment right now, just prepare yourself for a nice guided meditation. Okay. I want you to close your eyes. Now inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4 and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want you to feel your body soften with each breath. Let go of any tension. And say silently to yourself, I am safe. I am enough. I am healing. Now take one more deep breath in. Now gently return to the space around you. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes. All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome back. This is something we do every day, Monday through Friday, just to help ground us before we get into the topic at hand. So I thank you for sharing this moment with me. Aneta, again, welcome to the Season of Self-Love. Thank you. I want to start by Just thanking you for your bravery. I read part of your story and your willingness to just share your truth. Can you take us back to your early 20s? You married a narcissist at 21. What was that experience like, and what ultimately led you to walk away?
Yeah, so I'll just take you back on a little journey of where I was at in my early 20s. So I grew up in a household where my parents immigrated from another country to America, and I was growing up in like a cultural kind of household, and that was great. But there were certain things that we just weren't taught, and that was communication and emotional stability and how to regulate your emotions. So I really struggled through that as growing up and going to school. And then when I got older, I think about 18, 17 to 18, I started listening to podcasts on personal development. I started reading more self-help books, and I felt like I was growing, and I felt like I was more stable in certain areas. And I felt like I was ready for a relationship based on the work that I was doing. And I always say, when you ask for something, it doesn't come to you on a gold platter. It actually comes to you in the form of challenges. So for me, I was in my little safe space talking to God, and I was like, God, I want to be more emotionally stable and more emotionally mature. And he was like, are you sure? Are you ready? I was like, yeah, I'm ready. So then I was presented with my now ex-husband's, but he literally broke me down in every single area that I couldn't ever imagine. Like
Mm.
there was constant gaslighting, constant manipulation, constant love bombing, all of those things, and then some. And that really broke me down into pieces. But what I realized in the middle of the relationship was that he was my person to learn my lessons and my person to learn how to pick myself back up. So when I was 21, we ended up getting married. I knew at the time I shouldn't be doing this, and this is not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I did, and it didn't make anything better. Like shit just kept hitting the fan, and we kept bumping heads. So then when I was 23, I finally had the courage to say, enough is enough. And I deserve better than this. So that's when I decided to walk away, was not until 3 years later, actually.
Mm. So you realized at 23, and then you didn't leave until you were 26?
No, so I left when I was 23. Like I knew the relationship was bad since the day I met him. That's the thing, but I can say now that I didn't have the courage to leave when I knew I should have. I wasn't strong enough, and I wasn't emotionally prepared
Yeah.
to deal with all of that baggage, because essentially like what I did is I took my wounds and my hurts and I brought it into the relationship thinking they were going to get fixed. And he did the same thing. He brought his wounds and his traumas thinking that I was going to fix them. And we just kept bumping heads instead of actually making things work.
Yeah. I want to ask you, because you said you had started to listen to podcasts and read self-help books and all of those things. And you would think if you started at such a young age as you were, that, okay, now I got it together when I get there. And I love when you say, be careful what you ask for. When you ask for and you're thinking that you're getting what you get, these are the challenges that you get to see if you truly are, if you truly are ready for these moments. And I love that you share that. So, with the level of emotional and mental pressure that we have at such a young age, it's truly undeniable. It's unimaginable. I know. But how did those years shape you to understand of trauma, fear, and identity?
I don't think that in order to create trauma as a child, it has to be some big traumatic experience. I think it can start something as subtle. For example, I actually learned this over the weekend about myself, was that, if your parents are constantly working, and let's say you grew up with a nanny or a friend or a family member that's helping them watch you while your parents are at work, that can actually start a form of trauma. Because if you think about it, at such a young age, let's say 5 years old, you say, I love you to this person who's your parent. They say it back. and then he watched them go to work all day. And that's what I did I saw my parents go work really hard to provide for my brother and I and our family. But what I didn't realize is that that was actually building small bits of trauma, because my dad would travel a lot for work and he would say, I love you, I'll see you when I get back. And I think that started to build a fear of abandonment into me. So when I got older and I got into this relationship, I attached to him like a leech. I was so fearful of him leaving me that it turned everything upside down as well. So I can't sit here and blame him. I don't blame him, because it was both of our fault for the unhealthiness in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I love when you were saying that. I said, yeah, an abandonment. My story kind of mirrors yours a little bit, with, my parents working very hard and not truly, as a child, we don't understand that those are the things that need to be done. We just know that once you say, I love you, then you go away. And like, okay, if you love me so much, why aren't you here with me at this moment? And we don't understand those things until it carries over into our adulthood. What I love about is that you did recognize it so quickly, even though it was 3 years from 21 to 23 of you being married. At least you did recognize it. Actually, when I think about it now, listening to those podcasts and that self-help actually help you to really like, okay, this doesn't feel right. I don't want to feel this way anymore. This is something that I don't want to do. So that for you has been a credible evolution from you. But now from being a ballet dancer, I read that, to a hairstylist, to now an author and a coach. What was your turning point for you for each one of those moments?
I always say, if you have a dream inside of you, go chase it to your fullest potential. You're never too young and you're never too inexperienced to chase your dreams, because it's your dream for a reason. I always had dreams of being a professional dancer. I did that for a little bit after high school, and I'm forever thankful for it, because it built resilience and it built discipline into me. And then actually later on, I went to cosmetology school to be a hairstylist. But part of me going to cosmetology school, it reflects back on my childhood, because I didn't like my image. I didn't know what to do with my hair, my makeup. I'm from the ballet studio. They teach you how to do it, and you don't want to be walking in public like that. And that's all I knew. So also, I started cosmetology school when I was in a relationship with my ex-husband, and he would also knock me down. Why do you look like this? Why do you dress like that? Why is your hair that color? And that also made me insecure. So I went to school to learn how to do my hair and makeup, because I wanted to help others in those areas that they struggle. One of the most rewarding things about being a hairstylist is having somebody sit in your chair insecure, and when they leave your chair, they can look at themselves in the mirror and say, I feel beautiful. And that is such a rewarding part of the job. And I always knew that I loved educating, because that's what actually created my loyal clientele when I was at the salon, is I educated them on hair products, how to do their hair at home, how to blow dry, simple things like that that nobody tosses around for free. And I knew I wanted to educate more people based on the challenges that I've overcome. And the best way I could do it is through writing and podcasting.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know that you also made a very courageous decision to move to another country. Can you share how stepping outside of your comfort zone has helped you to discover your authentic self, to move there? That's a big step. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love Chicago, born and raised. I have that Chicago flag in my living room at my old apartment. It's not going anywhere. But I think one of the biggest blessings when you're going through tough times is try to get away from your hometown for a little bit. It doesn't have to be forever, but when you go to a new place where it's unfamiliar, you no longer look at your challenges from the perspective of, oh my God, this happened to me. And you're no longer in the victim mentality. you immediately switch to, where am I going to do laundry? Where am I going to get groceries? Is there a train? Is there a bike? How do I get around? Where do I live? You no longer make your problems so big and put them on the pedestal. And you realize that they're part of who you are and they were to help shape you. And I think this might sound crazy, but I moved to Mexico City and I've never been here before. I didn't know the language. I didn't know anybody. I just heard the tacos were good. That was my motivation. And it's really a fulfilling thing because you learn new things about yourself and you learn that you are strong and that you are capable. Because I always say, if it works out, it's God's direction. If it doesn't work out, it's his redirection to something better. And when you have peace in that, you'll feel more content stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that same way you just said as about God redirection.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. We often speak about confidence, about being an inside job. I love that. What are some of the inner shifts that you had to make to reclaim your power?
I had to learn to fall in love with myself again. I had to find what I like to do and fall in love with who I am because nobody is responsible for my happiness and nobody is responsible for keeping me happy.
Yeah.
Somebody can add to my happiness, but if I'm not happy with myself, how can somebody else be happy with me? One of the biggest actionable steps that I have taken is looking myself in the mirror and saying, I love you. It's such a foreign concept sometimes, but why? You tell your friend you love them, you tell a family member you love them. Why don't you tell yourself you love yourself? That's the biggest eye opener and helps open up your perspective.
Yeah, I love that. That's what self-love, the season of self-love is all about, is falling in love with yourself, having that intimate relationship with yourself. And I don't think enough of us do that. I don't think we understand what that truly means. So I thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about emotional resilience right now. For many, it feels like an elusive concept, like we don't know what that is. How do you define it in your own words?
Emotional resilience to me means not being the victim of your story. It's so easy to say, why is this happening to me? Why is this person being a jerk to me? But sometimes you have to take a step back and evaluate. What did I ask for? What am I trying to improve? If you ask for more peace, guess what? You're going to be tested with something that's going to try to get you away from peace. Like if you're in traffic and you wanted more peace, you better say, thank you, God, for this traffic, because you also don't know what you're being protected from as well. This is actually a really crazy story, but I remember my parents and I and my brother, we lived in the suburbs of Chicago, and my mom works in the city. And I remember that she said that there was so much traffic right as she was getting off the highway. And it was not normal. It was like maybe 2 or 3 hours on I-55. I-55.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that when she got home, she turned on the news and there was actually a shooting on the highway. And because she was able to skip out on that traffic and she was getting off the highway, she was protected from that. So if you're in, or whoever was probably way down, a good thing would be to say, I'm thankful for this traffic because you're being protected from what's ahead. And I think a lot of times we need to understand that our delays are protection.
Yeah.
And just really have peace in that, because you're always being protected. And you need to keep that in mind, that a delay is not to make you feel bad. A delay is to protect you from what's ahead.
I love what you just said, and I'm going to repeat it because I know my listeners probably missed that. You said our delays is our protection.
Yes.
Yeah, our delays is our protection. That's very profound. You need to do a T-shirt or a mug before I do, because that is, yeah, when you that just stood out to me. Yes, our delays are our protection, and I believe that's a message. That's a message for me right now in this moment as we interviewing. So I thank you for that one. I thank you. Now, in your coaching work, in your podcast, you talk about reprogramming your mind.
Yeah.
Can you give our listeners a few practical tools that have helped you personally and professionally?
So the number one thing is positive affirmations. That is something that has helped me tremendously. I had a dance teacher one time, and she said, in order to start getting more positive results, you have to start speaking more positive. And I remember she recommended to get a stack of post-it notes and write one I am affirmation every day and stick it on your bathroom mirror. So then every day you would add one, and you would see that when you wake up, before you go to bed. And that's something that really helps me. And then starting to speak into existence on what you want, and gratitude journaling. Because if you don't know what you want, then how are you going to achieve it? And it's easier said than done, but it starts with finding the good in every situation. I can sit here and tell you and be upset and angry. Oh man, my ex-husband beat the shit out of me last week, or he said this mean thing to me, because he did all the time. But instead, I took those situations and you looked at them as stepping stones to build myself. Every time he yelled at me, I said, it's okay. I didn't argue back. I said, this is teaching me patience. This is teaching me how to stabilize my emotions. Every time he left me at home crying every weekend, this is me building myself back up. But this time without him. And I have a lot of compassion for people who don't leave unhealthy relationships, because it's not overnight. And every time somebody tries to knock you down, look at it as an opportunity to stand back up, but this time stronger without them.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. What role do boundaries play in rebuilding after a toxic relationship?
I never heard the word until after my divorce. Boundaries are huge. I never heard that word until after my divorce, because after I left, I ended up traveling for a little bit, and I made a friend abroad, and he was like, bro, Aneta, you need boundaries. I was like, what is that? ChatGPT, what does the boundaries mean? And I say, a lot of times people can look at boundaries though from the victim perspective, like, you're being mean, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you showing up to this event, why aren't you texting back as fast? But what the true purpose of boundaries is that they're to protect your peace, and they're not to hurt other people. So if somebody doesn't understand why you don't go out on Fridays anymore, then maybe they're not worth hanging around with as much.
Yes.
If somebody doesn't understand your boundaries, then maybe you should reevaluate how much value they're adding to your life. Because if they're not adding value and vice versa, then it's okay to move on as well.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for that. So tell us about your podcast. I love the title, Nourish Inside Out. How do you hope it serves women and who are in the middle of healing themselves?
Basically, my goal with Nourished Inside Out has always been to give people the education that I once needed during really challenging times. I lacked so many things, from emotional stability, awareness, boundaries, peace, all of it. And I was always looking for a community, and I was always looking for podcasts on self-nourishment and how to overcome those challenges and those setbacks. So all I really want to do is share my education with others.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I like to interview people who are either psychologists, therapists, nutritionists, because it all starts within you.
Yeah.
What are you putting in yourself? What are your thoughts, your food? How much sleep are you getting? I worked at the salon for 4 or 5 years. The things that I have heard behind the chair, I'm like, people skills, where are they? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but everybody always talks about the outside appearance at the salon, your hair, your nails, your eyelashes, your Botox. Why is nobody talking to you about what you're telling yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Why is nobody talking to you or teaching you how to have more professional conversations with your clients? How do you like those are such important things? So that's the main purpose of Nourished Inside Out.
I love the name. I love the concept. And why I say that is because I was listening to, well, actually, it actually started most of my journey, my real journey of changing my mindset. I read a book called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor. And in one of his teachings, he talked about going from the inside out. We always talk about the outside in, but we never talk about the inside out. And with you doing that, could you just share some steps on how our listeners can practice 2 or 3 steps they can practice of coming from the inside out?
Yeah, something that has helped me is in the past, I would be looking for fulfillment in people, places, and things. And I learned that that's not the way to go. So I do really do things with intention. If I'm going to go for a walk, I try not to be on my phone and I try to enjoy the fresh air. I try to enjoy the scenery. I like to go get myself my favorite cup of coffee at a bakery or at a cafe and express gratitude because gratitude it goes such a long way. I can't express it enough. And sometimes people will say, I don't know what to be grateful for. Be grateful for the sun shining. I'm from Chicago. You're from Chicago. We don't get that much sun. Be thankful that the birds are singing today. That's something that can uplift you. And when you start showing gratitude for all of these little things, it's going to bring more abundance to you and it's going to give you a more fresh perspective on life. So take time to be mindful. You know, it's so important to control those unconscious thoughts because a lot of times we're always listening to something music, someone talking, a podcast. Take that time, go get your favorite cup of coffee, spend intentional time with yourself, and start noticing the unconscious thoughts and try to find the good in them.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. The self-reflection, all of that, because all of that is vital. Everything that you said is vital. All right, so now I have a few questions from you that I pre-did from the audience. So here's one. How do you begin to trust again after being betrayed by someone else?
When somebody betrays you, it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. And when you understand that, that's when you get grace and compassion for them. I can sit here and tell you all of the shitty things my ex-husband did to me, my ex-best friend, but at the end of the day, all you know is all you know. So if that person has not done the inner work, you can't take it personal because all they know is all they know.
Beautiful, beautiful. What's the first step to regaining your self-worth after years of emotional abuse?
Understand that if you're facing adversity and you're facing challenges, it's because there's a greater purpose inside of you. And never take it personal when you get faced with a setback. Think about a slingshot or a bow and arrow. You get a setback, you get pulled back. A setback, pulled back. Setback one more time, pulled back. And the more setbacks you face, you're actually in a good spot because when it's time to move forward, you're going to go so far. So never take your setbacks personal. They're preparing you to be the person you're called to be.
I love that. I love that slingshot. I love that. That is great. I love that. I'm gonna have to sit with that one for a second.
Go get your favorite cup of coffee and let it process.
Yeah, that one, that's a good one. Because we really don't think about that. And even what's that saying that said that a setback is for a great comeback? But just you putting it as the slingshot, and you're right, because the more you got a setback, the more you pull back, and when it's released and ready, you soar.
Yeah.
Girl.
When it's time for you to win, nobody can stop you from winning when it's your time. A lot of times we're settling for that one rose, but the reality is God wants to give us a garden, and the garden takes longer to bloom than one rose. So be patient. Every setback is leading you to your garden.
Beautiful. I love that.
Thank
You dropping some gems today. You're dropping some gems today. I want to thank you for your transparency. I really do. Your fire, just your grace. You are so. You just so. This is when I see you and I close my eyes, I just see a nice little light right here at the heart.
Thank
A light
you.
right here at the heart. Yeah.
Can I add to that? I was thinking about this the other day as well, as when the world tries to make you cold, don't allow it to. Allow the coldness of the world give you the opportunity to build thick skin to protect your pure heart, because we all have a pure heart. So allow the world to give you the opportunity to build thick skin because you have a pure heart to protect.
Wow. Let me tell you something. My prayer this morning, actually right before we talked, was about praying for thick skin. I kid you not.
And you're at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
We both are. Everybody is. You just have to believe that.
Yeah.
And that makes my heart so full, because I always, in my prayer every morning, I'm like, God, guide our hearts, guide our conversations, align us with the people that need to hear this, because we're all a team. It takes a village to build something great. You're never alone.
Yeah. I thank you. I thank you as we come to the near of this episode. I really believe just even in this month of speaking on emotional resilience, this is something that our society needs at this time, because I think we kind of overlook what compassion or empathy for others look like. With just having grace for others, and even in situations that being in an abusive relationship or something just traumatic, is that we don't take the time to really understand, like, wow, they're treating me not because of who I am, but because of what they've been through. So when we start to understand that we all have a story when we come together, it's just up to us to understand, okay, I know what my story is. So if my story was this way, and also understanding our mirroring of one another, and once we able to learn and understand that, then I truly believe that we can truly be more emotional with each other and be more compassionate to understand, like, okay, it ain't about me. This is really not about me, but it's about that person. And I do have the choice to be able to go and deal with it. Or now I have the tools to set boundaries. So, yeah.
It's never anything that you did, because a lot of times these people will just take how they feel about themselves and project it onto you. And I had to learn that the hard way, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And that's a beautiful thing. So also, when it comes to gratitude, be thankful for your challenges. They're beautifully perfect for you.
There are lessons for teachable moments. They truly are. There are lessons for teachable moments. Those are tools. And I sit now and, like, thank you for everything, both good, bad, and whatever. I thank you for it, because I see and it applies me. It was probably about 6 months ago. I remember speaking and talking about whatever situation that you're going through right now. Trust and believe you've already been through it. You've already been through it. So if you can take yourself back to that moment, you got through, so you can get through this. Go back and get that tool, because you forgot about where that tool was. Go get it. and it will help you to get forward in life. And I had gotten a few emails, it was like, thank you, because they never really thought about it. They think about, no, I'm going through this right now. Yeah. But then you dropped another gem today. You dropped another one. And that's about the delay. I'm so serious. You dropped another one about the delay being a protector. So we want to move so quickly, so many times, or where we think our flow is. And sometimes our flow is not the flow.
Yeah.
Most of the time is God's flow.
Sometimes God destroys your plans before your plans destroy you.
Yeah.
And that's such a valid thing. You know, I thought I loved being a hairstylist. I truly did. But at the same time, I took this last year away from the salon to step back and reevaluate who I am and what I want to do. And that's when I started writing. Would I go back to the hair salon? We'll see in the future. Like, it's still a passion of mine, but at the same time, it's okay to take a step away from what you enjoy and to reevaluate. Because I'll leave you with this. Diamonds are made under pressure. Olives are crushed to make oil. If you're under pressure or if you're being crushed right now by life, you're in the best position for growth. So be thankful, because having a life full of ups and downs is better than just a linear life going like this. The linear life like this won't get you anywhere. But a life like this, guess what? You're learning and you're growing and you're learning and you're growing, and eventually you're going to go up.
Beautiful.
So.
Beautiful said. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you again. Thank you again for just being here. For everyone that's listening, you can find Aneta in her podcast, Nourish Inside Out, on all major platforms, and connect with her through her socials. And what's your socials again? Because we didn't ask that. What's your socials?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Aneta.Waclaw, and then I write on Substack. So I have a weekly newsletter, and I write my blog there at Nourished Inside Out. And then my podcast, Nourished Inside Out, on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc.
Beautiful, beautiful. Listen, listeners, if this episode has resonated with you, share it with someone, share it with a friend, a loved one, and leave a review. Tag us on Instagram and let us keep this conversation going. So until next time.
Thank you so much, Nyomi. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. I love it. This is my Chi-Town girl over here. Again, remember, healing is not a destination. It is a sacred return to yourself. Have an amazing day. Have a good one. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today, and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer.